Coming up in episode 42.
I feel that to do the media, all the media characterization and rhetoric that there is around Latinas, that no one has ever acknowledged the fact that we are big thinkers, that we are thought leaders, that we are powerful.
Welcome to another episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Juan Alanis and Angelica Casares, and we're bringing you small talk about big topics. In this week's episode, we take a look at Carry the Load, an organization that promotes awareness of what the real significance of Memorial Day is, which is, of course, honoring our fallen soldiers. And we have a wonderful interview with Dr. Angelica Perez-Litwin, who is the founder of Latinas Think Big, which is the largest professional Latinas group online. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes and Stitcher channels are available at thelittleradioshow.com.
So this Memorial Day, we thought it'd be great to have a conversation about an organization that's called Carry the Load, that if you're not familiar with, has been gaining some momentum over the last couple of years. It was actually started by a former Navy SEAL, and he's a war veteran by the name of Clint Bruce out of Dallas. And this organization, really what it does is that their whole mission is to bring back the true meaning of Memorial Day, because a lot of times when we hear about Memorial Day, we hear about Memorial Day sales, Memorial Day barbecues, Memorial Day specials, but we don't often hear about what this holiday was initially started about. And it was started to remember our fallen soldiers. And, I'm not a service member. I never have been a service member, but I do have a tremendous respect for anybody who served in the armed forces. And so when I found out about this organization, I was really kind of excited, and I really do believe that their mission is quite important. So Carry the Load, if you're not familiar, basically what they do is they carry the backstory. I think the backstory is wonderful.
Yeah, go ahead. So the backstory includes this gentleman, Clint Bruce. I believe the story goes that he sat at a barbecue thinking about what the real meaning was, and I guess because he served the armed forces, he knew exactly what it was. And so as he sat there, he thought about how he could hold a remembrance to those who have fallen, to those buddies of his who, kind of died during their service.
In the line of fire, yeah.
Yes. And so with thinking, I guess, or how he did, what he did was he actually put on his a backpack, I guess the one they used during they have one for service. I've never served the armed forces. I don't understand what it is, but it's something relevant to a backpack. And he put it on as he walked. He encountered a veteran who was much older than him, and the veteran exactly knew what he was doing, and why he was doing it. And he asked Clint, "Son, whose load are you carrying?" And I believe the term, from word by word, it says, and with those 5 words, this is how Carry the Load started.
Right. So it's not.
That's a very inspiring.
So it's not necessarily that you're carrying the load, like the actual load of anybody else. You're not carrying their duffel bag. You're not. It's just you're carrying something symbolic that you have just to remember these individuals. And so now it's also grown into a social movement where there's a Carry the Load hashtag where a lot of people share their stories about fallen military family members or
military
friends.
Firefighters, right. People who are in civil duty.
Yeah, anybody who served, who serves in the line of duty. And then also they have local events around the country where they also have festivals, or they have parades where people just walk and they kind of have a load or a symbolic load, and they just remember the veterans.
I like the fact that you actually, and you're right. A lot of the times back then, a lot of people don't really understand what Memorial Day is or what it was for, and especially for young ones. And that's a great way to introduce it.
The reality is that at any given time, we have thousands upon thousands of soldiers out in the line of fire, and we're losing people, right. Not just to death, but there's PTSD, there's all sorts of other stuff, and it doesn't actually get covered. They don't get the recognition that they deserve. And you're absolutely right that Memorial Day is, kind of like Cinco de Mayo has become all about the margarita. Yeah. Memorial Day has become all about the picnic, the cookouts, and the sale.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. And I think that you hit it on the nail. And I think that because you have somebody who's very close to you who has served, that really strikes a chord. But the other thing is that the number of people who serve now is quite low. The number of people who actually sign up and decide that they're going to go out and serve is very low. So, I mean,
compared to that of the past.
Yeah. Psychologically, the issue is, and again, if I'm wrong, you can tell me that I'm wrong, but less people sign up to serve when people think that we're safe. Mm-hmm. When, after 9/11, numbers went up because patriotic duty, and we all understood that we were under attack. But the reality is, the demographics of who actually signs up to serve in the military is usually lower socioeconomics people. There are those people. There's a scene. Have you ever watched Jack Reacher, the movie?
I don't think I have.
And
no.
he talks about from his very cynical perspective the types of people who actually sign up to serve in the military. The reality is, from my perspective and as a non-expert, you've got the people who actually want to serve in uniform. The patriots, you've got the people who it's a family thing. Everyone in their family has served. And you've got the people who they think that this is a good way to get job skills training. You get a scholarship to go to school. It's a place for you to go and get yourself ironed out instead of going to college, or when college isn't an option for you, or etc. So there's all sorts of ways that people end up going, but the reality is that you do see a lot of the lower socioeconomic groups end up in military.
Yeah, because it's a leg up for a lot of people. It's a leg up. It's a way to give yourself an opportunity, because you get to go you get to travel to go and serve in different countries, and two, like most of the time, and then two, you also get to help with tuition, and so you're able to pay to get some education that maybe you're not able to get any other way.
And there's a reason why the military, most of the branches of the military offer sign-on bonuses, because they don't make that much money. You get training in job duties while you're in there, other stuff like that. And then, so a conversation for another day is the fact that we're not really reintegrating members of the military into society correctly. Military duty, and a lot of times the training that they receive, the very specialized, very wonderful training that they receive, doesn't account for college credit. They don't actually get, very few potential employers actually count military as a plus. In spite of the fact that it requires a lot of leadership and other...
It does. Yeah. I believe you've had to have served in the military for quite some years, besides the basic 4 years. I mean, I have a couple of friends who the first thing was they wanted to come back and be police officers, but they had to be military police officers to be considered here, or to have that training considered.
If you have military experience... HPD requires 2 years of college.
And you're right. But their understanding was that was at least something that they wanted to do. And so, she proceeded to be military police. And hopefully, I haven't seen her spoken, but hopefully she did well.
Those are the people that are able to come back and function. But the other thing that you mentioned earlier is PTSD. And I think we don't do a good enough job of taking care of those people who come back and they're hurting and they need the support,
Well, and especially if you've been in the military, and let's say you did a 4-year full-time tour, not that you were, reserved, because a lot of guys and girls, women, a lot of men and women enter as reservists. And that means that while they go through the same training, they may spend 18 months overseas instead of, doing a 4-year tour, whatever. So what they have is that they go and they come, and they go and they come, and there's really not a lot of support.
They don't reintroduce them to society.
But the other thing is that they're trained not to complain.
Yeah, that's true. And then the other thing is, like, they leave and they leave a family behind. So the family life continues, and when they come back, the family life is where it is in the progression of the normal course of their life. Yeah. But the military person comes back, and they have to readjust to being around the family. They have to readjust to the society. They have to, and depending on how long they've been gone and what they've seen and how traumatic the experience has been for them, if they've lost a limb, if they've lost a buddy, or they've lost, then it's very hard if
to understand. It's very hard to reintroduce and design
and to talk about it to people that weren't there.
Exactly, because a lot of the times in now recent years, it's for the last couple of wars, they've been deployed, so it's never been on United States turf, and so it's hard for us to sit there and feel the impact.
Yeah. Thank God it's never been on United States turf.
So, but we've never felt the impact the way they have felt it. But
on this Memorial Day, I just wanted to, kind of on this episode leading up to Memorial Day, I wanted to just invite everybody to kind of bring back, and remember really what Memorial Day is all about. And if you feel like it, share your story of your service family member, and
for me, it's more
carry the load.
For me, it was more understanding. But thank you so much for introducing that topic.
If you're just tuning in, this is the Little Radio Show on hmsnetradio.org. And joining us today is someone I've been trying to get on the show quite literally for months.
She's busy.
So as many of you know, I am connected online to a lot of groups and a lot of different discussions. And, we'll talk about my time management in another episode. But one of my very favorite groups on Facebook is Latinas Think Big. I've been on it for a while. It's, absolutely a great source of resources. So when I had the opportunity to meet in person Dr. Angelica Perez-Litwin, who is the founder of Latinas Think Big, it was a great experience. It was last fall, and of course, the very first thing I did was tell her, you've got to come on my show. Now, Angelica is very, very busy, so this is the first opportunity we've had to actually get her on here, and we're all going to welcome her and applaud and be grateful for the opportunity.
Very much grateful.
Hi, Angelica. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it is such a pleasure to be here with you. I'm so excited we're doing this together today.
Well, so am I. And I know that you're calling in from New York, and it's a great day over there. It's a great day in Houston. So I think that the weather aligned for all of us.
I think it did. I think it did. It's gorgeous here in New York today.
Well, that's wonderful. And now, of course, I started out this by talking about the Latinas Think Big Facebook group, which at last I checked has more than 14,000 professional Latinas in the group.
Wow, that's impressive.
And growing.
Of course. Angelica, Dr. Angelica Perez-Litwin, I know that you're a clinical psychologist. I know that last I checked, you're a clinical psychologist. So tell me how a psychologist ends up being the head of the largest Latina professional group in the country.
Wow. Very simple. Basically, the kind of work that I have done over the past 20 years as a clinical psychologist really at the core has been to empower and advance the lives of women. And so when we think about Latinas, you can empower and enhance their lives without looking at the kind of work they do and the kinds of dreams they have for themselves and their families. And that includes careers and entrepreneurship. And so some years ago, I started noticing that a lot of women that I was meeting were having very similar experiences of defeat or not feeling supported at work or not having enough people to connect that looked like them. They were feeling isolated because they were doing, they were working in corporate America. Perhaps they were maybe one of the very few Latinas, if not the only Latina, in the workplace. And so I saw an opportunity to connect these women who have so much in common, bring them together using social media, and also creating a platform that could really address all of the things that they wanted to accomplish, and at the same time feel inspired by just being around each other. So it was very simple, a simple jump, quite frankly, to do. And social media really allowed me to do that.
That is definitely a great reason to start a group. I just wanted to mention. I just thought you should know that. Very definitely a great reason because I know a lot of us can benefit from that.
So how long has Latinas Think Big been a reality?
So we launched Latinas Think Big back in 2013. And it actually, the original vision was that I wanted to create a TEDx platform, something like TEDx, where women would be on stage speaking for 15 minutes about their innovative ideas and the amazing work that they're doing around the country through their careers or their nonprofits or their businesses. And but what happened was that, one thing led to the other, and it just We just started doing more with Latinas Think Big. The online community on Facebook continued to grow, and it has become a bigger thing that I actually had planned for, but I'm happy to see that. And so, yeah, for the past 3 years, we've been doing a lot of work online and offline. When it comes to Latinas, you have to reach them wherever they are. We're all over the country. We are also around the world, even though, women who leave, like they move overseas for different reasons. So we have about 13 or 14 countries represented in our online community and about 48 states. So
wow.
It's a wonderful way to bring women together, build community online, but also then address some of their needs through in-person events. So we have been able to create this sort of magic where we very smoothly go from the online experience into the in-person experience. And I think that's been really very powerful for the community.
So you started out as an in-person event that morphed into a combination of offline and online.
Yes, but I will say to you, I have been running this online community for the past 4 years. So actually, it started quite a little bit before that. I was running a group called Latina Leadership Network. And then it just, it was a secret group. We couldn't really grow it. And so when I launched Latinas Think Big, a year after I started that group, I was able to just bring everyone over and continued it as Latinas Think Big. So although we had been building community online, when we launched Latinas Think Big, the events, in-person events, we were able to sort of bring everyone together in one particular group, which is Latinas Think Big. So both things have been happening sort of like synergistically. I also have to mention that back in 2010, I don't know if you remember this, but I launched New Latina.
Yes, I do remember. NewLatina.net, yes.
.net, yes, and it was really, quite frankly, the first digital media platform that it was addressing Latinas from the perspective of career development and personal development. It was really one of the first, if not the first. So that had already sort of, I believe I was, building already that kind of community and audience that was really interested in that kind of content. But in 2010 and 2011, I started noticing that a lot of these women wanted to reach out to me and ask me questions like, how did you get into a PhD program? How can I get into this particular graduate program? And they wanted to reach out to me and other women in person. And so I think that was when I started seeing the need for these in-person events and gatherings where women could be amongst each other, face to face, inspiring one another, supporting one another, hearing each other's stories. And I think when you mix all of that, the online experience, the content, the digital content, plus the in-person experiences, I think that's where the magic is, quite frankly. So I'm having a blast.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And from the online information, it sounds like there's a really great support for that. But currently, your events are only actually held in New York and San Francisco, right?
Yes, they are. So we have gone to Boston. So we have two different kinds of events. We have summits, which I consider them to be more like thought leadership gatherings where we have women talking about important topics. So we just came back from Harvard University where we were hosted there, and we were talking about the wealth gap in this country, the wealth gap between Latinos and non-minority populations. And so we had these amazing women talking about public policy issues and what can we do around the issues of economic prosperity. And so we do those kinds of events. But more recently, we saw the need to start building startup communities or entrepreneurial communities. So we have those only exclusively right now in San Francisco and in New York, and we meet every 2 months. And we're trying to just create ecosystems so that women who are entrepreneurial, including professional women, by the way, who want to come together and support one another and talk about their businesses can do so in a small gathering locally in a geographic location. And our hope is that by 2020, we will have these entrepreneurial communities meeting every 2 months all over the country. So we continue to do our summits, which are sort of like very dedicated events and really more about panels and thought leadership, but we also want to continue to grow the entrepreneurial communities.
I'd like to pivot back to the online community a little bit. The Facebook group for Latinas Think Big is very active. And so what I'd like to do is ask you a little bit about the challenges of managing such an active, diverse group, as far as making sure that everyone is on topic, that everyone plays nice, that the information is actually what you provide, that you want provided in support of the group's mission, that kind of stuff. Because I know for a fact that managing a small group is difficult. I cannot fathom 14,000 people.
Yes, it is a challenge, but it's actually a challenge that doesn't feel so much like a challenge unless I'm kidding myself. It's so, what drives the group and also what guides me, to be honest, is the fact that with every single post that I share and the number of people that like those posts or not, with every single post that other women share, I'm getting so much data about what matters to this community of women. So every single day is like a research study. And I'm a researcher by profession, so I completely enjoy managing the group from that perspective, that every single day I'm getting data from the group. And so it guides me and it tells me what are some of the things that matters to these women, what are the things I'm interested in. And so it's fascinating. There will be a post that will get like 600 likes because everyone loves that and it believes in that. And then there's some that no one even looks at. So that part makes it easier because I'm getting feedback from the audience. The other part of trying to, manage the group, I think the most challenging part of it is time. There's a huge time commitment that a group like this requires. You literally have to be on all the time, make sure that people are sharing, the right things. People are playing nice, like you said. Fortunately, I've had an amazing group of women coming together, and it's just been very supportive. Rarely have any problems, to be honest. And so I think there's a tone in the group that's been set from very early on, and we set it every single week, that this is a place for women to support each other, to share information, resources, opportunities. So the feel is different from other groups that I myself have been a part of, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm not sure this is all my doing. I think it's really the group, to be honest.
Are you doing anything with, you said that, you are learning a lot about what the women in the group like or don't like, what their wants are, what their interests, what their priorities are. Are you doing anything with this information?
Yes, absolutely. This information is actually at the core of some of the programming and efforts and initiatives that we have launched recently and will continue to launch. This data is so important. And we have we've also done some online surveys in the past. So we couple with that and the day-to-day information we get, this is where I get a lot of my insight about Latinas. So in many ways, I think of myself as a Latinologist. Someone who really, someone who's like studying, Latinas and has this, intelligence around Latinas in this country, especially the women that are in the group. And so yes, to answer your question, absolutely. We are using this data all the time. It's really what informs us in terms of what we should do and what we need to do more of and what they want. Obviously, we could be doing more, but there's just not enough time or resources to do that right now.
So you're able to pull qualitative and quantitative information.
Yes, exactly. And we have actually gathered some of that data through more formalized online surveys, both of qualitative and quantitative data. But yeah, and the other part of this, Sandra, that nobody sees is that every day I have people reaching out to me through Facebook, sending me messages, questions, can you help me with this? So even in the questions that they're asking me help with, that helps us a lot. And one of the things that have come out of that information, that insight that I'm talking about, is, for example, the one-on-one mentoring that we have. We recently offered to the members of the Latinas Think Big platform, we're doing that. And as soon as we put out those one-on-one 25-minute mentoring sessions, they went so quickly. And so right there that that's something that Latinas really need and really want. They want personalized attention to what their challenges and goals are. So no matter how much stuff we put online, no matter how much content we put online, all the video platforms, the learning courses, at the end of the day, Latinas want personalized one-on-one, listen to me, so I want to hear from you, let's talk, let's chat, please mentor me. That's what they want most, and that's what we're working on most recently.
I really like the name Latinas Think Big, and I get an inkling that there's more to that name, or that was on purpose that you kind of came up with that name, Latinas Think Big.
Yes, absolutely, Juan. I have always felt strongly that in this society in particular, in America, I feel that through the media, all the media characterization and rhetoric that there is around Latinas, that no one has ever acknowledged the fact that we are big thinkers, that we are thought leaders, that we are powerful, that we are innovative and creative. And so I really wanted to, that has never been my experience. All the women in my life, including my own mother, friends, colleagues, they've been amazing women. And so I felt that a name or a brand that really spoke positively about how we are and what we want and our ambitions was going to be really important. And I think that this is why Latinas Think Big as an organization or brand, whatever you want to call it, has resonated with women from all ages. There's no particular generation. It's not like we're a generation millennial, the millennial or the X or whatever, I don't know, whichever generation you want to call it. There's no such thing when it comes to Latinas Think Big, because what we are leaning on and depending on is more of a psychographic factors at the core. The women that come to the platform, what they have in common is not age, but really more things like ambition, things like social mission. They want to do something that matters to them. They want to be supportive to one another. So these are more psychological, psychographic things, and not necessarily something that defines people by age. You know what I'm saying?
And how more empowering is it to empower each other? And, it's such a simple phrase, but it has such a meaning. Latinas think
absolutely
big,
As happens frequently on the show, we have too much to say and not enough time. A portion of this week's conversation with Dr. Angelica Perez-Litwin has been provided in the Little Radio Show Digital Extra segment. For those of you listening on the radio station, you can find this outtake at thelittleradioshow.com. If you're already subscribed to the podcast, it will be delivered to your podcatcher of choice automatically. And now we go on to the final words from Dr. Perez-Litwin and the show close. Is there any parting words you'd like to, I think anything you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, so since we are talking and focusing so much our conversation on this online community, as I see it today, I think there's no better time to be whatever it is you want to be or do the kind of work that you want to do more than this time right now. I think technology and especially social technology, online, social channels, social media channels, they are really offering us such a tremendous opportunity to do so much with so little. And so, I think that if there's something, whoever's listening online, on the radio show, if there's anything you want to do, think about how technology can help you achieve that. How, all the different, from the apps and the software, if you can leverage that, especially social media, how can those tools and resources help you achieve what you want to achieve? And the other thing I always say to everyone, the next thing you need to do is show up. You have to show up. You have to launch. You have to put yourself out there, take the risk. It is in those experiences that you find that magic sauce, that you find yourself, you find what you really want to do.
Thank you so much. We do appreciate you joining us, and we'll be providing links to all of the resources that we mentioned today, the Latina Think Big Facebook group and website, and etc., on the show notes.
What a pleasure! I feel like I was in a little seminar just now.
I know.
So
yeah.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
I love it.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes and our Stitcher channels and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to both channels at thelittleradioshow.com.